Welcome back, everyone, to the Mod Golf YouTube channel. This week, I have Keith Stewart, who is the host of the Pro Show with Keith Stewart. He's also a writer, media personality, PGA professional, even though he doesn't do that mainly for a living right now. That's kind of the foundation that he built that on. You can see Keith on there already. Geez, I didn't even see. I did a share screen already to start. So I'm talking about you, and we can already see your beautiful face there with the background of Hogan and some other things in the background there. So, hey, Keith. Had a great conversation with you for our long form audio version of the Mod Golf podcast, and just want to extend that and have just keep the fun rolling and the conversation going. So, hey, it's been, God, it's what 15 minutes since I've seen you. So you don't look a day older. You look fantastic. So welcome back. How's it going?
Everything is good. Let's jump right in. Time is money. Let's go, Colin. Come on.
I think we already did. So, hey, Keith, to get things started, why don't you tell our viewers here, we'll get a little bit of redundancy here. Tell us about the Pro Show with Keith Stewart. Tell us what that is, why you do it, the fun that you have, and when the show is on. So go for it. Give us a little pitch there for the Pro Show.
Yeah, sure. The show is on every Friday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time this time of year, and it's on ESPN 920. You could stream it online if you go to ESPN 920 and look for the Listen Live button, or you can listen to us if you're in the New York City, Philly market. And we talk about the pop culture of sports and what's going on in the world. Of course, there's a golf bias because I am, as you mentioned, a PGA professional, and we have a great time discussing all of the really cool stories that are going on and specifically the golf world. And we have the most fantastic guests. I've got a great producer, and it's been going on for now over 3 years, and we have a wonderful audience. We have a show archive online. You can go look up the old shows, and just some great guests it's just amazing guests over the years. Everyone from Seth Waugh to Eric Anders Lang, Alex Kaplan, Gary Player. Mother's Day is coming up soon. We're going to have Annika on. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to it every week. So nice. Great to be with you.
Nice. Likewise. Well, hey, we're definitely going to be sharing a couple of stories here that you have that you can kind of pull out of the archives there, because you've got a ton of them. We can make this into a 5-hour show here. We could almost do the Joe Rogan thing, run for 3 hours here, but since I'm not quite as popular as Joe, people probably won't watch as long, so we'll kind of distill that down here a little bit. But one thing I do want to kind of double down on from our earlier conversation here, Keith, is you made this great insight. It's kind of, you didn't describe it as stay in your lane, but focus on your strengths rather than trying to, develop all these other things. And the other strengths you don't have as an entrepreneur, and also in yourself, I can see in life, engage other people that complement you to pull those in, pull in those strengths. So you don't necessarily have to have them, all those gaps you have, and allow other people and engage them to take that step to kind of fill those gaps that you have. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm assuming you embrace that type of mindset of how you get things done by staying in your lane, focus on your strengths, and expand on your strengths, and bring in other people in other areas of expertise. Is that fair to say that you do that?
It's completely fair to say. And I'm glad you brought it up again, because, people can listen to the audio format and they can hear, maybe a different version of what I'm going to say now. But what it comes down to is that if you want to be an asset to the world, it definitely makes us, or if you want to be a more inspiring person, you should take the time to work on your strengths and not your weaknesses. And there's so many people that are out there that are telling you, say, oh, you'll be a better person if you work on your weaknesses. But that's certainly not something that a Navy SEAL does. And that's not something that you should do as a leader either. This is a leadership podcast in so many ways. What you do for the golf community and supporting all of the fans that you have in telling different types of stories, Colin, are so important. And it's amazing to me that so many folks out there in the world could be a leader like you or I, but they don't focus on the right things. And, just to elaborate on that point from what we discussed earlier, was that way back when I was approached, and it was a mentor, and I was interviewing for jobs to become a head golf professional. I was a first assistant professional at a nice club up in Rhode Island, and I was thinking more and more about taking the next step in my career. I said, yeah, I always get this interview question, strengths and weaknesses. And, I feel like I should maybe work on some of my weaknesses. And this person, this career counselor, he said to me, no way, you have to work on your strengths. And I said, well, how does that make any sense? And he used an analogy talking about Michael Jordan and free throw shooting. He said, Jordan could improve his free throw shooting. And that's a weakness of his, right? And I was like, well, yeah, sure. Okay. He goes, no, Michael Jordan has no weaknesses playing basketball. Zero. Just like Tiger Woods has no weaknesses playing golf. If Tiger Woods wanted to work on sketching or painting, that might be a weakness of his. But why would he do that? Right? No, he's going to work more on his strengths to be a bigger part of the world. And I think we should all focus on that too. And communications was one of my strengths at the club and being, a nationally recognized PGA professional. And I have taken that to the nth degree. And it's the ProShow. And I am out living out my why statement, which is basically, I want to change the way people view the game of golf. And it's happening week in and week out, just like it is for you. As you've released, whatever show this is, 100 plus, right? These are the important things that are happening in the golf world. And you're working on your strengths and I'm working on mine as a communicator, and it's helping everyone. And I encourage everyone else to do that too.
Yeah, it's a great way to follow up the comment that I had made there. So thank you for that. And interestingly, during our first conversation on the podcast, you're looking at me while you're talking. I was digging around and off screen because I was looking for a book when you're talking about strengths, and it's a book that I got a couple of years ago and I couldn't find it. And then I just realized it spent the last 2.5 years underneath my laptop propping it up here so I get the right angle here for this video shot. And that's this book here called Strengths Finder, which, hey, not a paid endorsement here. And now that I pulled it out, that I found it, Keith, I'm going to go back and redo this and reevaluate this and do the test for my own strengths, because I do agree 100% with you that you need to focus on your strengths and stay in your lane, as they say, as I mentioned earlier. And I look at myself, my background in architecture and design, and what I've done in the sport realm. Though that's part of my secret sauce as an entrepreneur, and also the value that I can bring to community building and connecting people here in the $100 billion golf industry that now I've had the good fortune of being a part of. And so many people think they need to become subject matter experts in all these different things. And you don't. And you had mentioned this earlier. That's when I had thought about it off camera with Malcolm Gladwell. And I think it was Blink or one of his other books there, where he talks about, 10,000 hours to become really good at something, to be considered an expert. And I like to think that as a podcaster and in the golf experience space, that I put in just about that many hours over the last 6 years. So hopefully I'm getting that some level of expertise, but completely agreed. So it sounds like Malcolm Gladwell, someone that you've read and you've looked at too, to help kind of inform you with some of the decisions that you've been making.
Whether or not 10,000 hours gets you to expert level, I'm not sure that's so important, Colin.
True.
You are a positive contributor to the golf community, right? And you're a positive contributor to the world with your stories, your collaboration, the influence that you create. So 10,000 hours, 11,000 hours, 8,000 hours, I really don't care. I think Gladwell's point is that if you really want to do something, immerse yourself in it and go for it. And, that's obviously advice that you would give and any other good leader would give, or any good storyteller would give. I mean, I don't have all the stories from, a 25-year club professional career that others do, because basically I've lived all of this. I've gone through it all. You want to talk about swing mechanics or marketing. Funny thing, people ask me all the time, what's the ProShow like? Well, if you want to interview George Gankis and Seth Waugh in back-to-back weeks, then come listen to my show. Because that's the level of entertainment that I'm bringing to the table. And that's the types of discussions that I love to have. It tests me. And I learn so much from my guests by being a part of something that's bigger than just an hour on the radio every Friday, or the time that I get to spend with you. I mean, people get to consume this, and then they take that and they learn from it, and then they collaborate with their friends and they build their golf community. It's really kind of a neat thing that we get to do.
Yeah, no, love that take on that and what you do. And I learned from all my guests. I mentioned this earlier in our previous conversation, that I sincerely embrace this notion 100 episodes in with the Mod Golf podcast, that I have 100 mentors, 100 ambassadors, and dozens of new friends that are amazing. But, on that mentorship side, and I'm a little bit of a micro mentoring moment here with you of what you just said. And that is, you haven't used the F word, in this case, focus, but that is to, really kind of dive down and focus on certain aspects of what you're doing and getting good at. And one of the, what do you want to call it, a bad habit or a flaw, and I've got many of them, but one of them is not saying no to other opportunities or hanging on to some things a little bit longer than I should rather than letting them go. And one thing that I'm always reminded of is one of the Steve Jobs quotes, and that is, he was most proud of some of the things that he said no to or he rejected rather than the successes of things they built, from iPod, iPhone, iBook, all the other things. Of those things that they actually didn't do, but opportunity cost. And we all have that, right? We only have so much time. Time is our most precious resource and commodity that we have. And some of us don't use it all that well, or almost like it's not, like I said, this precious thing that we have. But it sounds like you're learning that day by day to take advantage or be mindful, I guess, of the opportunities that you have, and then perhaps diplomatically, or maybe not so diplomatically, say no to the ones that don't align with how you want to use your time.
Well, there's a couple thoughts that come to mind as you mentioned a few of those topics there. Number one is that, a PGA professional is kind of the rock star at the country club or at the golf course. And you have to embrace that role. And as that person, you become a leader and you become someone of, or somewhat of, the focal point of the golf experience day in and day out. Of, if it's in my case, it was for, like, let's just say the last 12 years at Springdale Golf Club, I was their head golf professional. And, you become the center of attention. And as that person, you have to embrace that leadership role. So one of the things I love to do is I love to consume, leadership information, whether it be podcasts or read books. And, I love that you showed me that book just a couple of minutes ago. I'm definitely going to look at this recording. I have to jot it. I don't have to jot it down because this is being recorded, but I'm going to look that book up because that will be helpful. And what I read one time was that there's two common characteristics shared by all Forbes 100 CEOs. And the number one was self-awareness, and the number two was the ability to say no. And you kind of just encapsulated both of them there. And whatever role you are in life, if you're a golfer, great. We share that bond. You and I share that bond, and the audience shares that bond with us. But then you go into your day-to-day and you're a leader in some other part or some other shape or form of what you do. It could be your family, could be your relationships, and it could be your job. And it's so important, and how valuable those two characteristics are towards success. You got to know how to say no. And it's hard. These things are hard. If success was easy, everyone would have it. And you have to be self-aware, and I think that when I read about that years ago, I mean, it has to be maybe a decade ago, I certainly never hired myself, right? Because that's being self-aware, right? Because
Right.
the two of us would probably kill one another. But and then the other thing was that learning how to say no to things that weren't necessarily in your lane, to go back to our conversation that we were talking about before, because it wasn't going to show off a positive side of what you were capable of. And sometimes we just take on too many things. And I'm happy that we had a conversation today about all of the things that are going on in my lane and your lane, because they're running parallel. And, certainly they're like the Autobahn. I feel like when I'm with you, I'm on the Autobahn. There's no speed limit. We can go as fast as we want. We can have as much fun as we want. And, the destination is unknown at this point because the Autobahn's pretty long. But, hey, we're on a pretty good highway here in golf, and I'm loving it.
I agree. I completely agree. You talking about that kind of triggers my memory from an article I read a couple of years ago. I can't quite place who the writer was, but it was an excerpt from his book. And he talked about how to be able to kind of gracefully say no to opportunities. And it seemed like he was talking just to me on this. I fell into this, I wouldn't say a trap, but and there were a couple of key ingredients: that the fear of missing out. It's another opportunity. Oh my God, if I say no to this, maybe they won't ask me again, or maybe that opportunity won't present itself again. So I have to say yes, even though I have regret the next day of going, oh my God, I don't have time for that. And the other main one was, I don't want to disappoint that person, right? Because they may be insulted or just take it badly if I say no. But ultimately, and I put this into play, I've tested this, exactly the structure this gentleman said the way to put this. And when someone asks you, whether it's verbally or through an email response, of thanking them for the opportunity, but just saying, I just don't have the bandwidth right now. I don't have the time for this. It doesn't quite align with where I am right now, but thank you for the opportunity. And let's keep the conversation going, because perhaps in the future, if there's another chance for us to connect, that's when we can make something happen. And I've done that. And even what he had suggested would happen is that those people actually respect you even more, even though they may be disappointed in the moment. In fact, that I was very clear and sincere and authentic by saying, I just can't do this for these reasons, but thank you for asking, rather than saying, Keith, yes, I'll do this. And then really thinking, oh my God, I don't have time for that. And then I either mail it in, or then I delay it, or all the above. And then you're like, well, why did you say yes in the first place? So yes, the art of saying no. Hey, I think we got the title for the podcast right there. The art of saying no by Keith Stewart. There we go.
No, I mean, you know what? You bring up a really thoughtful point there. And in every conversation that we have someone in any industry or any part of our life, right, there is a way to handle yourself and to include the other person, whether you're going to say yes or no. And that's what the point of this article was, or talking about the leadership characteristics of these CEOs. And what made it so unique and what really resonated with me was that the concept that you can say no, but you could still use that towards developing a relationship. And it's so important. And I have given numerous talks, and I mention this all the time to assistant golf professionals, young PGA professionals, anyone that really wants to listen to me. I have this really famous acronym. And I mean, people that know me know that I have a ton of different crazy sayings, but one of my most famous ones is YN equals YNW. So it's the letters Y and N equals sign YNW. And it's your network equals your net worth.
Nice.
Who you know is where you go. And how you treat people will open doors. And you could say no and still develop that relationship. And, you know, I'm so glad that you touched upon how to say no, but to be graceful. You know, not enough people introduce grace into their life, you know, or manners, or, you know, everything is just so fast these days and so quick and so dry. And it never hurts to be thoughtful and to use words like courage, pride, love, you know, to have a little emotion to what you're doing, and not to get all like Jimmy V on you or anything like that. But my point is this, is that developing relationships leads to success in all sorts of ways that may not be obvious to you at first, but your network at some point will equal your net worth. And
I love that.
It's such a valuable lesson. And I know, coming out of just this conversation today, which was, I don't know, we met maybe 6 months ago, Colin, and I have benefited from that relationship just listening to your conversations on your podcast. I love to consume the type of material that you put out. And I feel so fortunate to be included with you today as part of this. And I feel an obligation to give a message to your listeners that I've received by listening to the Mod Golf podcast. It's been just such a tremendous opportunity and a lot of fun. And I can't thank you enough for being a part of it.
Well, that's very, very generous and gracious of you to say there, Keith. So the last thing I'm going to end with here is, as far as this art of saying no, you mentioned earlier that you are considering having me on the Pro Show. That will not be a no. If you are kind enough to have me on, if you think I'm worthy of a conversation on there, I will say hell yes to that. There'll be no. I also use, you bounce around different things with I like that equation with the to get to your net worth there. Another one that's similar to that, a little bit different, but similar, comes from the improv space. I've taken only a little bit of improv just to try to be better listener and engaging on podcasts as a host. And one thing I learned very early on with comedy improv is this notion of never, ever, ever in the back and forth say no, but. There's never a no, but. It's always a yes, and, so that you're keeping the opportunities open, that you're keeping the dialogue moving forward, so you don't dead end the person. And I find the great thing to take from improv is that yes, and, not no, but. but it will definitely be a yes and for us in the future here, Keith. I can give you that assurance 100%. Absolutely.
I'm going to keep texting you because I just learned something huge right there. As someone who gives interviews week in and week out, yeah, hundreds of them. I mean, that's just a fantastic little tidbit that I could put into practice immediately with this week's show. And I bet when you listen, you'll notice a difference because I will remove the comma, but, and then I will keep the conversation going. I love that. That was
There you
awesome.
go.
I love that.
You can have that because, like as we said earlier, it's about collaboration, not competition. I did not invent that one, so you don't owe me anything for that. We're just spreading the information, the kindness, and the sharing as we do with that's the way we are.
I love it. I love it. I love it. This has been so much fun.
It has been. So, hey, Keith, why don't we finish up there? So once again, I will include that, of course, down below in comments and in the notes there so people can find your show. That happens every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So once again, I wanted to tell people, give your show a little plug there because I'm going to be listening this week, which will actually be tomorrow when we're recording, when we record this right now. So I'll be listening tomorrow. So let our viewers know where they can connect with you with the Pro Show with Keith Stewart.
Everyone, it's the Pro Show with Keith Stewart, ESPN 920 in your New York and Philly market. You can find it online. You just look up, just Google 920 AM in New Jersey, and there's a listen live function right there. And you can go online, iTunes, any of those different spots. There's a whole show archive there. Find a guest that you really like. The conversation, I guarantee you, will not be your traditional golf conversation. You'll enjoy it. You'll have the most fun. And if you like music, you'll enjoy it even more. So I hope you do. And I certainly hope you're entertained. I try my best.
Love it. Love it. Well, everything we've talked about today, I'm just getting even more excited as we go here, Keith. So I've got a feeling this is just the start of a beautiful relationship. I've got a feeling we've got a lot of collaborative opportunities lying ahead of ourselves here, my friend. We're just getting started here.
I'm all in.
We have a show together. I don't know what it will be. Keith and the long-haired guy. I don't know. You work on the branding there. You work on that and get back to me. All right.
It might take a while. We might go without a show name, but I think that I just don't know right now. But I certainly think that there are extremely cool collaborative possibilities. I don't know if it's quite like that of a Yeezy shoe, but it's close.
There we go. Well, hey,
I'm all in on that.
We'll engage our audience just to leave it here down below in the comments. If you've got a name you think for the show that Keith and I should have in the future there. Now, don't be rude, be nice. But you got any show ideas, put it down there. And if you do, and also hashtag that with Mod Golf Giveaway, I'll enter you in our next Mod Golf giveaway contest, which I believe is a Garmin Approach S62 smartwatch. So there, leave a comment of what Keith and the Collins show should be named. And even if it's lame, even if it's good, we'll enter you anyway. So go for that, everyone out there. Okay, Keith, awesome to talk to you again, my friend. You take care, and let's connect again soon. All right, you have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks so much, Colin.